we're going to go ahead and get started because we've got a lot of information to cover. Just a little bit of housekeeping. This session is going to go really fast, and so we want to spend as much time as we can. I will announce when we have 15 minutes left, and then Jolene will have 10 minutes to wind up. And then the last few minutes, we will announce who the prize winners are. So I'm going to turn, and I should say, I'm Karen Condor. I am the Utah PTA Special Needs Specialist and also on the Family Links Committee, and I will be the facilitator. And we want to ask that if you have questions, put them in the chat. We'll save them till the end. We don't want to, we just want to have the presentation, and then we'll hopefully have a little bit of time for questions at the end. So I'm going to turn the time over to Jolene Wyler.
Great. Thank you so much, Karen. I really appreciate it. So I'm just going to shortly introduce myself. My name is Jolene Wyler, and I'm the director of the Utah Work Incentive Planning Services with Utah State Office of Rehabilitation under the Department of Workforce Services. And I also do a lot of outreach for the ABLEUtah program. So tonight I am talking to you about ABLEUtah and how you can work with ABLEUtah and also have it work with Special Needs Trust to be able to save money and build your future. Now, if it's you specifically doing it, or if you're working with a family member, this is a really good way to be able to save money beyond what the capabilities have been in the past to be able to do that. If you're limited by resource limits, like with SSI and Medicaid, the ABLEUtah program may be really just the thing for you. Now, so if you're looking at ABLEUtah, I don't know how many people are familiar with this, but the Utah legislature actually approved Utah to be able to use ABLEUtah back in 2015, but they didn't make a Utah program specifically. So you had to go out into different states and be able to find one that would let you sign on to one in different states. But in 2021, Utah actually, through the Utah Treasurer's Department and Department of Workforce Services, we partnered with the Ohio Stable program, and starting in September of 2021, we opened the ABLEUtah Savings program. And so that was a really exciting thing to be able to bring that program to Utah. So let's look at what is ABLE. So the idea behind ABLE is if someone is receiving SSI or traditional Medicaid or one of these programs that has resource limits or asset limits, generally those asset limits are around $2,000. And so if you save over $2,000 in a bank account or a savings account or anything, you are not eligible for those programs. So being able to save money has been really restricted. So the ABLE program was created specifically to be able to allow individuals to be able to save money beyond what those resource limits are. So the ABLE program does not affect eligibility for benefit programs such as SSI and Medicaid. Now, and the ABLE program, they have kind of a hybrid functionality. So you can put money in from a 529 college savings program. So you can use the ABLE program similar to a 529 college savings program because you can invest money in an ABLE account. And it's kind of like a checking account because it's a transactional account where you can spend money out of the ABLE savings program or the ABLE account for qualified disability expenses. So you put money into the ABLE account, but you can also spend money on qualified disability expenses. Plus, Similar to a special needs trust, you can save money and it's a protected account so that, again, Medicaid and SSI can't count that against you as far as resources go. Now, again, we call it ABLEUtah, but the long name on it is Utah's ABLE Savings Plan. And it was launched on September 1st last year. And it's offered to Utah residents through a partnership with Ohio Stable. Now, the reason why Utah partnered with the Ohio Stable program is because Ohio has been in this since 2015. So they have a history of being able to run an ABLE program. They partner with 13 other states. And so we, the Treasurer's Program and Department of Workforce Services did that to be able to lessen the burden on taxpayers because they already had a really good framework in place already. And so we didn't have to build it from the ground up. Now, again, the benefits of the ABLEUtah account is you can save over $2,000 and keep all your benefits, where before an ABLE, you would risk losing your health care and other benefits. But the big benefits of an ABLEUtah account is, in my mind, probably the biggest one is ownership. That account is owned by the individual with the disability. So you make those choices. The person with the disability makes the choices of what to do with that money. There is financial independence. So you're making choices on whether you want to invest the money or if you just want to save the money in the account. And then there are tax benefits. So some of the tax benefits in that account are if you are putting money, when you put money into the account, there is a 5% tax credit on all contributions made into the ABLEUtah account. So whether you're putting money into the account or a family member is putting money into the account, there's that 5% tax credit on all money being put into the ABLEUtah account. And then any increase in the ABLE account, so any there's no federal or state income tax on earnings that you have in the ABLEUtah account. So if you invest and you have earnings in that account, there's no federal or state tax on that. So let's look at eligibility. So eligibility on to be able to qualify for an ABLEUtah account is the number one thing is you have to have a disability that occurred prior to age 26. So the onset of that disability had to occur prior to age 26. You don't have to be under age 26 when you enroll in the ABLE program, but the disability had to occur before age 26. I've heard stories from the Ohio program of there's a lady in her 90s actually who is enrolled in the Ohio program, but again, her disability occurred prior to age 26. Plus, you have to have one of the following. You have to either be eligible to receive SSI, SSDI, childhood disability benefits, or disabled widow or widower benefits, or you have to have a condition that's listed on Social Security's list of compassionate allowances conditions. Now, those are, you can Google those. It's a list that is readily available on the internet, or you can do what's called self-certification. Now, self-certification is, there is a, you can go to your doctor and get a diagnosis, a written diagnosis of a physical or mental impairment that causes marked and severe functional limitations. Now you see on this slide that that is underlined and bolded, and that's for a reason. That is a Social Security specific, it's Social Security specific verbiage. And so it has to say that. And then the condition has to have lasted or expected to last for at least a year. But you don't need to send in that written diagnosis. You have to have it on hand though. When you enroll in the ABLE, you have to have it on hand just in case at some point you are audited. You have to have it, but again, they don't ask for it when you enroll in the ABLE program. They're trying to make it as easy as possible for you to enroll in ABLE. The nice thing is too, in the resource section, which I'm hoping we're going to be able to get to, I'll show you the website. In the resource section of the website, it actually has a form that you can take to your doctor and have them just fill out this short form that is a self-certification form, which is really nice. So they don't have to ask you all sorts of weird questions. It's just a form that they can fill out. Okay, enrollment. Enrollment is fairly straightforward. You do have to have internet access to do it. Usually takes 20 minutes. It's pretty straightforward. There is a $25 minimum opening deposit, but that's not a fee. It's just you have to be able to put that money in the account, but that money is available back to you. And it can be done by either the individual themselves, who is the beneficiary, or a person called an authorized legal representative. And that can be a power of attorney, a parent or guardian, or a conservator. Now at this point, I usually say it's very important. A representative payee with Social Security is not considered an authorized legal representative unless that the beneficiary, the individual with the disability, makes them an authorized legal representative. So you have to fill out a form in order to make them an authorized legal representative. So they are not automatically an authorized legal representative. But any of those people can do the enrollment. So it makes it really nice that if you are enrolling a child onto an ABLE program, you can go ahead and do that. And then funding your account, you can fund it through electronic funds transfer from your bank to their bank, or you can do it by check. And if you are going to do it by check, it's really important to write the account number of the ABLE account on your check, so it does get deposited in the correct account. I want to go back really quick to the authorized legal representative and a parent or guardian. You know, I have a friend who is going to be opening an ABLE account for their child. And it's really nice to be able to do that for, if you're thinking about doing that for your child, because it really allows you to set that money into that account so that you can put that money in there and use that for those qualified disability expenses, especially if that child is on SSI benefits. Because I know if somebody is on SSI benefits, there's always that concern of, am I going to go over resources? Am I going to have problems with assets? And this really allows you to be able to put that money in that account and not have that concern of going over the asset limit. And then you can spend that money for those qualified disability expenses that we're going to talk about. It really makes a big difference. And I know for my friend, it's really going to make a big difference for her to be able to do that for her daughter. So how much money can you put in an ABLE account? It's actually pretty good. Every year, if you're not employed, you can put up to $16,000 per year from any source into the ABLE account. If you are employed, you can put up to $28,880 per year, which is the $16,000 plus an additional $12,880. And the lifetime limit is $501,000. So you can actually build quite a lot of money in your ABLE account. Now, there's a caveat there. If you're on SSI, there are a couple of special rules if you're on SSI benefits and you have an ABLE account. And we're going to talk about them in just a couple minutes. There's a slide down the road for that. So let's talk about if you're not employed. So you can put up to $16,000 a year from all sources. That means you putting the money in, or family members or friends putting money in from any source. You can put up to $16,000 a year in there. And if you're employed, that's $16,000 plus an additional $12,880. That means if you're working, you can do a payroll deduction, and you can kind of set that money up in payroll deduction. You set it and forget it, because that money is automatically going into your ABLE account, which makes things really nice, because I know if I have a payroll deduction, I have stuff that is on payroll deduction, and because I never see the money, I don't have to worry about it. And then again, that $501,000 balance limit, nobody in the stable account has hit that $501,000 limit, but to know that kind of the sky is the limit kind of thing. It's nice to have that out there, especially if you're investing the money that you're putting into the ABLE account. So this next thing is probably my favorite part of the ABLE program, and that is what's called the gifting page. I'm going to talk in a minute about my job and the program that I work with, which is Utah Work Incentive Planning Services. But we work with people who are on Social Security benefits. And I know if somebody's on SSI, one of the real problems is when you get money from other people, it can affect your SSI. So if you get a gift from your grandma at Christmas or for your birthday, it can affect your SSI. But the gifting page, what you can do if you have an ABLE account is you can say, you know what, grandma or family member, if you're going to give me money, I would like you to put it in my ABLE account. And I'm going to give you a link that you can put the money directly into my ABLE account. Well, what happens is, because they're putting the money into your ABLE account, it does not count against you for your SSI. So it never counts as income with your SSI account. So that's how you can get around that with gifting. Also with gifting, it is set up like a GoFundMe account. So if you are saving money towards a large purchase, let's say a wheelchair or something that is, again, a larger purchase, maybe something that Medicaid is not going to pay for, or something above and beyond what Medicaid is going to pay for, you can send emails from your ABLE program, from this gifting page, to to friends and family and other people saying, I am saving money for this particular item. And I'm asking for your contributions for this particular item. And they can gift money into your ABLE account. So again, acting like a GoFundMe page. And what the ABLE account does is they track that money coming in to your ABLE account, so you can see where those contributions come from. But then you can create thank you notes from the ABLE account to go back to the individuals who have contributed money into your account. So you can get money back, you can get money into your ABLE account for these specific items, and you can thank them for the money that they put into your account. So it's pretty exciting. I think this is a really neat function of the ABLE account. When you do put money into the ABLE account, there are some, you can choose how you want the money to kind of act in the ABLE account. You can choose if you want to put it in like a savings type option, which is on the left side of your screen here, which is the bank safe option. Now, this is an FDIC insured option up to $250,000. And again, it acts just like a savings account. Or you can choose an investment. You can choose to invest that money. And you choose whether you want that investment to be conservative, or there's 4 different options from conservative to aggressive. And if you look on this slide, you can see it just depends on what your, I guess, kind of gut is for investment options. If you want to go conservative, then it's more bonds and less stocks. And if you want to go more aggressive, it's more stocks and less bonds. So you make the choice. Every time you put money into the ABLEUtah account, you choose where you want to put that money. And then twice a year, you get the option of moving, you can move the bulk of your money in your ABLE account from, you can move it around in the ABLE account. So if you want to move it to an investment, you can, or you want to move it to bank safe, you can move that around up to twice a year. So we've talked about putting your money in. So let's talk about taking your money out. Withdrawals on the ABLE account are, let's see, sorry, I'm checking my time here. Okay, so spending the money out of your ABLE account, I talked before about you can spend the money on things called qualified disability expenses. So when you spend money out of your ABLE account, that you have to spend it on a qualified disability expense. And the definition of that is it has to relate to your disability, and it has to help maintain or improve your health, independence, or quality of life. Now, unfortunately, that's the definition they give you. Now, they give you some ideas of what might be a qualified disability expense. The nice thing about this is they're pretty broad. You can spend money on housing and rent, basic living expenses, transportation, education, assistive technology, financial management, health and wellness, and legal fees. Now let's look at a couple of examples of this. So with an ABLE account, you can only put $16,000 a year into an ABLE account. What happens if you have a financial settlement that's going to be more than $16,000. If there's an accident or some other kind of financial settlement that you're going to get, that's not going to be appropriate for an ABLE account. But you might want to consider putting it in a special needs trust. Well, you can spend money out of your ABLE account on legal fees to set up a special needs trust. Now, when you have a special needs trusts are much more limited generally in what you can spend the money on. And special needs trusts, you generally can't spend money on housing and rent and basic living expenses when you are receiving SSI benefits, because you're pretty restricted when you're on SSI, because you generally can't spend money on food, shelter, and utilities. So you can set up that special needs trust to put money into your ABLE account and then spend the money from your ABLE account on housing. So you can transfer that money and then have the money come out of the ABLE account onto housing. So that might be an example of something that you can work together with the ABLE account and the special needs trust. Going back to this again. This is, again, an example of categories that you might be able to spend on qualified disability expenses. There are more things that you can spend money on out of your ABLE account. But again, they have to relate to your disability and have to help maintain or improve health, independence, or quality of life. ABLE is not going to be able, ABLEUtah is not going to say, that's definitely a qualified disability expense, and this is definitely not a qualified disability expense. You need to be able to justify that. What they will do is, if you, we'll talk about it in a minute, they do track those expenses when they come out of that account. That's a really nice thing about the ABLEUtah account, is they do track those expenses and the money coming out of the account. So for IRS purposes, they do track what the money is spent on or where the money is spent. And that goes into this next slide here, is spending. When you are spending money from your account, there's 3 ways to be able to spend money from your account. Excuse me. The first way is you can transfer that money into your checking or savings account, your personal checking or savings account. Now, this first way, unfortunately, is once you put that money into your personal checking or savings account, that tracking mechanism from the ABLEUtah account stops, because once you put it into your own account, they can't track it any longer. You have to track it after it goes into your personal checking or savings account. So you're responsible for that tracking mechanism. The second way is a third-party check. So they can cut a check to pay for bills. They can do a bill pay feature, or they can cut a check for rent on a monthly basis, those kind of things. And the third way is the stable card. And that is probably the most popular and the easiest way to spend money out of your ABLE account. Now, the stable card acts just like a prepaid Visa card. And it's a loadable prepaid debit card that can be used anywhere that Visa is used. And what happens is you load the card with money. It does not draw directly from the whole amount of your ABLE money. So you can just load what you want to onto the ABLE or onto the stable card, and it tracks your spending and has those annotated expenses online. It doesn't have an overdraft. You can't go to an ATM and get cash. And also, if you are an authorized legal representative and you say, you know, I'm going to give this card to my child and let them go and buy something, you can actually limit the number of the merchants that this card can get spent at. So they don't go to like 7-Eleven or something like that, or they can't necessarily be taken advantage of and go buy something that they're not supposed to. And then there's also notifications for low balances, and you can monitor that spending. Okay. The SSI considerations. I told you we were going to talk about those. So generally, you can have up to $501,000 in an ABLEUtah account or in any ABLE account. But if you're receiving SSI benefits, if you have a balance over $100,000 in an ABLE account, SSI can count any balance over $100,000 as a resource. But your SSI is just going to be suspended. It's not going to be terminated. So as soon as that balance gets below $100,000, that SSI is going to get restarted. So if your balance is over $100,000, the SSI is suspended, but as soon as it gets under 100,000, they'll start up the SSI again. And then another one that's a little tricky is if you pull money out of the account to pay for rent in 1 month and then hold it over to the next month, then that money can be counted as a resource. That's kind of an easy fix though. So basically it's April now. So if you pulled your rent money out, say $1,200 out right now in April to pay for May's rent, they could count that $1,200 as a resource. So the trick to that is if you pull it out in April, you either pay your May's rent early or you don't pull that money out until May. So they can't count it as a resource. And then another important thing is the ABLEUtah program is only an asset protection program. It is not an income protection program. So the beneficiary's own wages still count as income, even if they're contributed to the Utah ABLE account or the ABLEUtah account. So it doesn't protect income from work. So if you work and make money, that income is still going to be counted by Social Security and Medicaid. It only protects the assets that are sitting in the bank or that. It doesn't count it does not protect your income. So the answer to that is, this is where I put a plug in for the program that I work with. The Utah Work Incentive Planning Services, or UWIPS. And what we do is we help people who are on Social Security disability benefits understand how work affects their benefits, like their Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, housing, food stamps. And what we do is we really help them understand how the money from work is going to affect those benefits, but then also we show you how to report your work to Social Security, Department of Workforce Services, housing, any kind of community resource you might be receiving. We tell you about resources you may be eligible for. And we really try to look holistically at the family situation. So if your kids are getting benefits, or if you've got a child, we actually work with individuals anywhere between age 14 and full retirement age. So again, if you've got kids on benefits, we try to look at the whole family situation and see how any kind of employment is going to affect the entire family. So as long as an individual is receiving Social Security benefits, we can help them understand how work affects their benefits. But we don't help people get on Social Security. That's really important to know. That's a whole other ballgame. Okay. So another really big question that people have is, what happens if, let's see, if an account holder passes away when they have an ABLE account? So if an account holder passes away, if they have an ABLEUtah account, then the account passes to the account holder's estate. And the estate administrator, or the executor of the estate, they have to notify ABLEUtah, and then they can take over the account access. There's no designated transfer upon death, so you can't say, you know, Uncle Joe gets all this money. If the beneficiary doesn't have a will, then the account does have to go through the normal probate process. But the good news is with Medicaid, even though Medicaid can ask for payback, there are really some really good protections with the ABLE program, as far as they only can ask for money back to the date that the ABLE account was opened. If you have paid the like Medicare work incentive or any kind of Medicaid buy-in premiums, you can deduct that money out of what Medicaid can ask for. If you have any outstanding qualified disability expenses, you can pay those before Medicaid gets the money. And then before Medicaid can ask for any money, you can pay for funeral and burial expenses. So if when I was talking to the Ohio people about this and Medicaid asking for money back, I said, so how much is kind of an average ABLE account balance? And they said, you know, if we look over the past 5 years, what's the average ABLE account balance? It's around $10,000.
Zep.
And if you really think about it, what's the average cost for a funeral? It's around $8,000 to $10,000. So if you had that much money in your ABLE account, it would pay for a funeral. It's not something you like to think about, but that money could be spent out of the ABLE account, and then Medicaid wouldn't get the money. But so you can pay for funeral expenses out of your ABLEUtah account. So the cost of the ABLE account, the monthly maintenance fee is $3.25 a month, and it's charged quarterly out of the account. So it's $9.75 charged quarterly. And then the asset-based fees are between 0.19% and 0.33%. So those are the costs of the ABLE account. So now let's kind of look a little bit about special needs trusts and the ABLEUtah account. And some of it I kind of talked about a little bit before. They really are tools that you can use together, as far as the trust can be written and amended to distribute money into the ABLEUtah account. And trusts can take that unlimited cash and non-cash assets where ABLE accounts are limited to that $16,000 a year. But the ABLE accounts have the broader spending power because, again, they can be used on food and housing, where the special needs trusts are much more limited in what you can spend out of them. And again, no federal or state income tax on the earnings, and the money you put into the special needs trust. Remember, you have that 5%. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes here. You have the 5% tax credit in Utah that was written into the original bill, that you have the 5% tax credit on all contributions put into the ABLE account. And again, the very most important thing, the ABLE account can be established, administered, and owned by the individual with the disability. Where with a special needs trust, you have to have a trustee where the individual has to go to the trustee and ask for the money to get the money from the trustee. And so they don't have that ownership of the money in the special needs trust. They always have to ask somebody else for that money. Where in the ABLE account, it's their money and they get to make that choice, that autonomy of making the choice of their own money. And I think that's a really powerful thing. Okay, so this is the information on the ABLEUtah. When I kind of glossed over it, but in the enrollment process, they do have a lot of support when you are enrolling in the ABLE program, because they have a toll-free number that is available Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. that you can call and get questions asked. They have this email address. They have a chat feature on the website. So if you have problems with enrollment, you can get on the chat feature and ask them. And then there's the website. Let me see if I can jump on the website really quick, because I wanted to show you really quick before I jump into questions. Let's see. Hopefully my internet won't give me a problem. Sorry, it's coming up. Here we go. Can we see this, the ABLEUtah website?
Yes, it's great.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay, so this is the website for ABLEUtah. It's really straightforward. It's ableut.com. And if I go up top here to resources, sorry, I'm on a slow internet tonight. There are flyers. There's a flyer here. Rat card is just a brochure that is small. They have a fact sheet, and there's a copy of most of this presentation. But so down here, if you are rolling over your 529 college savings program, it has paperwork to be able to do that. Adding an authorized legal representative, payroll deduction forms. And then right here, I talked about the diagnosis form for a licensed physician. So if you are doing that self-certification that I talked about, this is the form that you use, and it is a 2-page form. It's very straightforward. And so your doctor is not you know, they're not asking for a huge lift from your doctor. So it's not going to be horrible for your doctor to do that. So there's a lot of information on the resource section of the ABLEUtah website.
Hey,
Let me go
Jolene-
ahead and answer some questions that you guys have. I see that
Jolene,
we've
there's,
got,
sorry,
Go
to
ahead.
interrupt. There's 10 minutes left, so we've got, 10 minutes till we need to wind up our finishing stuff till 7:55.
okay. I know I talked fast, and I talked fast so we could get questions in.
Do you want me to ask the questions from the chat that people put in?
Yeah, why don't we go ahead and do that?
Okay, Jessica asked if family from out of state can claim the tax credit.
You know what? I don't know that question. I would have to ask if family from out of state can do that, because I'm kind of, I'm not sure. I'm going to have to make a note of that and see if out of state family can do that.
Okay, another question is, can you please clarify, can an ABLE account be used within a special needs trust?
Not within one, but it can be used in conjunction with one. So you can have both a special needs trust and an ABLE account.
Okay, and if there are minor children that are in the DSPD waiver program, can UWIP meet with the parents and child?
Yes. Now, if the child is the client, they have to be at least 14 years old for UWIP services. Okay.
Okay, and if you have an adult child with full guardianship, then would the disabled individual be limited in being able to administer the account?
No, not necessarily. And that's another thing is you can have with the ABLE account, one of the really kind of nice features about this is you can have a stable, if you choose to use a stable card, you can have a stable card for the beneficiary, and you can have a stable card for the guardian or the authorized legal representative. So, you know, if most of the purchases are going to be made by the authorized legal representative, then that's great, because most of the money is going to be spent by the authorized legal representative. But there are going to be definite times when the beneficiary is going to be spending that money. Then that is definitely going to be good for the beneficiary to have that card as well. Does that kind of answer the question from whoever asked that?
That was, Deanna asked that question.
Deanna,
she
does
said
that
yes.
help?
Yeah, okay. Does the U or the Parent Center have recommendations for Utah lawyers who specialize in special needs trusts?
I always send people back to Utah Parent Center. I hope that's okay, you guys.
Well, and I know there's a guardianship, is it Guardianship Associates of Utah? They do a class on guardianship and they talk about that in their class too. So,
Okay.
let's see, is it easy to transfer money to the ABLE account?
It is. And as you saw on the resource section here, you can transfer. Oh, are you okay, so the question is transferring money, is it transferring money from a bank account to the ABLEUtah account, or is it transferring like from a 529 college savings program over? I actually had a coworker who just opened an ABLE account, and they found it really easy to transfer money from their save or from their account by, what was it? What did I just say it was?
She says from a bank account.
She did the electronic funds transfer, and she found it super easy to do that. She opened it with her daughter who has a disability, and she found it really easy to do that.
So the question was from a bank account, so that sounds.
Yeah, she found it very easy to do it.
So would a parent or guardian, could they open the joint account with them? Are they another authorized person on that account to put money in or out or do things with it?
Anybody can put money in. So yes, anybody can put money into the ABLE account.
Okay, and then how does the tax credit work? Are the donors send a tax form if they donate money, or?
You know what, that would be a question, and I think that would be an appropriate question for the, sorry, I just lost it. That would be an appropriate question for the ABLE account people. Let me get back on here. That would be an appropriate question for the ABLE people, because they would be able to tell you exactly when you sign up, how they would get you that information to take advantage of that tax credit.
Okay. Oh, this is the Utah Parent Center does not recommend any one attorney or legal service. We encourage families to search based on the need. In this case, Google Utah Special Needs Trust Attorney and interview a few to pick the one that works for them. Make sure they are all well-versed in actual special needs trusts.
One thing, yeah, go
another
ahead.
Question. If go ahead.
I'm sorry, can I add to what Tina has said?
Mm-hmm.
I would also recommend that whatever attorney that you end up choosing has done a successful special needs trust and has passed it through both Utah Department of Health, Medicaid, and through SSI successfully. Because there are special rules with Medicaid in Utah and special rules with SSI. So they may say, you know what, I can do a special needs trust, no problem. I think it's important to say, have you done one successfully in Utah?
Okay, that's good to know. Another question, if the disabled adult contributes money from employment to the ABLE account, do you still pay back SSI for the earnings?
Yes. So again, what I said is this is a resource protection program. It is not an income protection program. So if you are working, it's still, your income will still be counted by SSI. So you still need to report your income to SSI, and SSI will still do that. I mean, to say really easy, the 1 for 2 thing, they'll still do their calculations to figure out how much SSI you're eligible for. You might want to get a hold of Utah Work Incentive Planning Services, and we can help you figure out what the calculations are and how much you'd be eligible for. But it only helps you with the resources, not the income.
Okay. Any other questions?
No.
Okay, I will, has the attorney written a special needs trust, supplemental trust as part of the Utah Medicaid and SSI rules along with workforce services? Okay,
Yes,
that's what you said. Okay.
that's correct.
I want to mention, I put it in the chat and I will put it in again, that all of Jolene's handouts for this session can be found on this link. You can copy out of the chat. And the recording will be available later, I believe, on the Utah Parent Center site. And if you have questions on this presentation or anything, call the Utah Parent Center and they'll be able to help you find where it's recorded.
Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Thanks for letting me present to you. I am really excited about this program. I think it really helps individuals.